So this is the Young Urban Women space. This is the structure that we brought. It's young women talking to other young women. It's young men teaching other young men. It's not even us doing the work, right? Young women, is that how it was? They bring, it's just to create that space, and they have their content to support each other. So that's why in the Young Urban Women space or Young Urban Men space, you have the president, you have the vice, you have the secretary, you have the organizer. They think of the content. We just come in to support. We are not even going to run the thought. Imagine Morongwa in Diepsloot. We really have to stress about our own work and this field. We just need to make sure that the structure is there for them and they run the whole show because they understand their needs. They understand what the support that they actually need from each other. I remember, I think Funadi has at least 3 programs or 3 different programs that she actually put in place before we came here. It's like, ma'am, we are already discussing what the weekend is going to look like. I'm like, please, can I send you the program that I have for this? Because when we started the Young Urban Women, when we say we are coming to meet, they are the ones who come up with the agenda. They are the ones who actually run the workshops. We just support. So in terms of somewhere that someone needs facts. So if if Hazel, for example, does a presentation and does not have certain facts, then we can come in and support those facts. Or if they need like social workers or a psychologist or an advice from a nurse, then they'll get a nurse to come in and do it. But they have the content, they have everything themselves. What we need to do is just to create the space for them and accept that at this moment, this hall is for the young people, and they will tell us what their program is. Sometimes they just read the news.
Today is the last session that we have. We want to wrap up. Yesterday was also a very important session, right? And we had a conversation on there, and I was saying it was such a necessary session. And I think it sort of like reminded us, took us back when we started the work, but also made us think of how are we going to move forward from now to 2020 going forward. So there were people who joined us after a session yesterday. So do you need some introductions? or you did some introductions during the dancing.
Yes.
All right. If we did the introductions during the dancing, that's fine. So so today what we will do, as I said, we will have conversations to shape the program yet, Young Urban Women project with CDP space. And I want us to be very specific because from my experience, I learned once you take two programs and merge it, or once you have different people with different roles in a project and there's no clarity on who's doing what, when it goes back to implementation, it's a problem. So I want us to be quite specific with deliberations to say as good, this is how we think this is going to happen, and also who is doing what, so that when we go back to Isenda Z, we're not a bit confused. Although I know Gutunewa will be there to always provide the support. And also, we had just a brief conversation about, so that by the time you leave, you have a, for those who have not been part of the Young Urban Women program, you have a sense of what conversations are going to be happening in the Young Urban Women space in 2020.
And Young Urban Men.
You're sorry, and Young Urban Men. Thank you so much, Neo, for reminding me.
Please.
So Young Urban Women and Young Urban Men, to say what kind of conversations are going to be happening in that kind of space. And you will see, Uti, they are very much connected to the CDP work. When I take you through that, it's really one and the same thing. So before we start, Umurungwa yesterday, we were Chukuti, when she was sharing experiences, that she has done some personal mastery, master of self or personal masteries. And I thought, Uguti, maybe let's just give her, because I think that is also very relevant to what we are here for. Let's just give her, even if it's just some few minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I'll have a timer in the room,
Okay.
because we have time constraints today.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
You know, my name is Moroma Ramasuvani. And so yesterday when I was sharing about my experiences and what I've been through, one of the things that I did to bounce back was a small course about personal mastery, how you get to master self and how you get to be the best that you can be in order to work with others and in order to bring about the ultimate benefit for the people you work with. Who has an idea of what personal mastery? I just want us to be very interactive so that we don't get bored and we are able to finish as quick as we can. So who's had an experience with personal mastery? Any ideas, suggestions? What you think it is?
Am I allowed to talk?
Yes. So this is like my third session in practice. So any ideas of what personal mastery could be, what you suggested is? Yes, Mankoda.
I think it's a deeper sense of self-awareness and knowing more about yourself, knowing your good side and maybe not so good, not your triggers and whatever, but just to get a better understanding of who you are.
Okay, that's true. Another suggestion or
Okay, I think from the conversations we've had, I've come to learn that personal mastery has to do with relearning. We take so much of what the world gives us. So someone would say, oh, that is a nice person. And I start thinking, I'm a nice person. And I start looking out for other nice people and how they behave and how they talk. And I start talking like a nice person. Then someone says, you are rude. I take that. I learn from rude people how they behave and how they do things, and I become that. It's something we never really do intentionally, but it's all the teachings and the norms that we absorb from the world. We embody them, but that doesn't mean that's who we are.
yes.
Personal mastering is a matter of going inside, digging deep, and releasing all the energies so you find yourself within.
Oh, okay. Yes, both answers are true. So what personal mastery is, you getting to relearn who you are. And I don't know how many people know that the person that you are today is based on what you learned from the ages of 0 to 7 years. So whatever that you think you've learned as you go, or whatever that you think it is you, it is based on whatever that went through in your life between these ages. So this is based on where you grew up, the people that are around you, your environment, what you saw when you were growing up, and these are the things that you really don't have control over. So if you are a person that is currently a Christian and it is not something you relearned, it's something that you've always been seeing people do, or when you grew up, even if you're not from a family that goes to church, but people that were going to church was considered as good people. In order for you to get societal acceptance, you deemed going to church as a way to go. It's not something you really developed as yourself or something that you felt the need to, but because of your experiences and what you grew up around, you think going to church is what is for you in order for you to get acceptance as the right or a great person. And I don't know how many of you know an iceberg? An iceberg. Anyone mind sharing what an iceberg is? I know nobody doesn't know what an iceberg is.
Are you talking about the one that's got you
Yes, the
unconscious and whatever?
Pardon?
That shows underneath it's water and then...
Yes.
Okay.
So an iceberg is typically something that looks like
Yeah.
So with an iceberg, this is the only part you get to see with a person. This is what you see for the other person. What I see when I look at Menkodwa, from her behaviors, from what she does or what she says. And this is, however, 20% of what an iceberg is really, because it goes way deep beyond under the water. And this is the part that a lot of people do not see, and consequently you get to forget what this space is about yourself, that you get to define yourself based on just 20% that people say about you. So this is your behaviors. So these are your behaviors. It's based on what people do, on what you do and say. So this could be, for facilitators, seeing a child that is always hitting others at the center, seeing a child that is always answering in class and is viewed as a high performer. But however, that cannot really be used to judge that child. Referring to the stories that the ladies shared yesterday, myself inclusive, we got to crash because this was what defined us by the external environment, and we got to forget everything that's in here and now prioritize on working on these things. Thus we crashed, because an iceberg does not really survive by just being this. If we were to remove this whole place, any pressure that gets on top, it collapses the whole thing. So your behaviors are influenced by something, definitely. When a child hits another child, it's most probably because they are angry. When a child answers in class, it's most probably because they are confident. And your behaviors are always influenced by your feelings. So this is one thing that leads to how you behave. Every time, you find that sometimes people are in a conversation that is not going to be deemed as something that will make a person break, but because they are feeling a certain way at that point in time, they get to behave the way they do. I'll give an example with Ntiki. When Ntiki came in front and she cried and she was very emotional, it's because of certain feelings that she was feeling. And feelings are relational. Before you get to feel that you are loving or you feel confident, you must have thought about something. These are your thoughts. Before you get to feel sad, for example, if a person was raped and they get to be bitter and fight and have all these behaviors that most people deem unwanted or unprofessional, it's because they are feeling something, and because they are feeling something, they had to think of what that situation really meant to them. And so your thoughts don't just come. As much as these is the most important part of how you get to learn and develop yourself and be the better person in order to relate with others. There's an element that affects your thoughts. Anyone that wants to try what could really affect how you think, consequently how you feel and behave. Thank you. Experiences. So these experiences, values and priorities. This is the 7%. Your mind ultimately, the 0 to 7 years of your life, your mind between 0 to 7 years is able to take experiences, values around you, because between these ages you do not have a mind of your own. So your subconscious mind is what works more than your active mind. And your subconscious mind has a stronger memory and memory span more than what you currently do after the ages of 0 to 7 years old. So if at a very young age you've seen someone hit somebody, immediately when you see someone hitting somebody, you get to go back and unpack your experiences that will make you think that this probably means, if I'm being hit, this probably means I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough. You end up being angry and then you retaliate, you behave a certain way. So your experiences form a lot of who you are. And then your experiences are also affected by your unmet needs. Going back to my story, unmet needs. So with me, my unmet need was understanding of self. I did not understand myself because I got to adapt people's thought of my behaviors and my achievements. So the moment I went to the United States, I was doing very well in school and everything. I got to be defined by that because when growing up, I never really had so much to say and decisions. The fact that my sister got stroke when I was young and my mom was a domestic worker and consequently she got cancer. I had the unmet need of wanting to find relevance and an ear to listen to. Like, I needed an ear to be listened to. So with whatever I did, I had to make sure that I am listened to. So every time, when everything crashed with my experiences and priorities and values, this was what defined my life. The fact that I am to be heard, I am to be heard, and I am to be confident and the moment I did not get all of the things that I thought defined me, I got to now think that I am no longer worthy. The moment when I stopped going to UJ, because that now was what defined me, then that meant, who's Morongwa? Because at that time, that was what Morongwa was. And I got to adopt that thought of myself. So then, if everything moves away, what do I now tend to think? I tend to think that without everything that I've accomplished, I'm just like the girl that is pregnant and never did anything with her life. And because of that, I might as well haven't even tried going to school because nothing is working really. And with that, I got to feel very neglected, unwanted, nothing to be associated with, and how I behaved was the suicidal and the outlashes, because I remember I used to snap a lot. I used to withdraw from a lot of activities. I used to not engage with people because my unmet need was now gone. That need to be accepted for what I thought was me was not there. Then my whole aspect crashed, and any pressure that comes on top of it, meeting someone or going to Tikun and being reminded by it, collapsed my whole aspect. So this is what happens with self. And the most important part, if you are aware of your unmet needs, and you are also aware of why this need was unmet, you get to change your thoughts. Now this deals with the mind. Did everyone get this? Please.
I like the last part because EQ says that we interact with each other based on our needs.
Yes.
So, like when they say that somebody's being a certain way because of their own personal feelings or whatever. So we interact with each other because of our needs. I'm kind to you because I want something from you as we engage. So you give me respect and my need is met and I'm able to engage with you.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes and snaps at you,
Yeah.
they need for something, they didn't get it.
Yes.
Maybe they wanted to feel that you respect them or you honor them, but when their need for that is not, you don't give it to them, they get upset. So I really like that one, because whenever we do things, just think, why am I feeling like this?
Yeah.
What need did I not get? What didn't I get from the other person
Yeah.
that's making me feel like that?
Uh,
And then we need to go, like she said, to the thoughts. Then it's either you change that thought and channel it differently, or you're going to stay in that. So it's very interesting.
True, I agree.
I think for me also, I think Uneo was about to wrap up when you were saying, so people see you as this top of the iceberg, as the 20% to say, this is the child who has gone to the US. This is a child, this is sort of like one of the best results for us as Africa Tikkun. This is how our success looks like as Africa Tikkun. And it made me think also about what he's a talk show host, go Radio 702. So and he had a show about Usia Police. We know most the stories Kasia Police. When we had 1995, when we first won the World Cup, he came from a shack where the family could not even have TV, and he had to watch the match in a shipping. And he said, so that was the only place where I could watch TV, and I so wanted also to be powerful and be like these people. And fast forward to 2019, I'm here, I'm the captain, I'm the first black captain in the world to have ever won Ilando. And so when he said that in the global media, and everyone was like, most how we like Rex to Rich's story.
Yes.
And everybody celebrated Usia Police as this very successful person. So Eusebius was pointing out the danger of doing that. That we see Usia Police as, yes, he's done well, and that's what we want. But sometimes if focus here is on this, this is the great seer, this he has done this, so why can't you do it when I'm a stone? And so it's the danger in that is to look particularly at black people in this country, to say, so Sia Policy did it, so why can't you do it? But also not thinking, Uguti, so what are the things that Usia struggled with for her to get there? You get what I'm saying? So Usia, once he played local rugby, someone identified him, and then he went to Igrey High School. For those who know EP, Port Elizabeth, Igrey High School is one of the prestigious boys' school in Port Elizabeth. So when he went there, so someone, of course, because he comes from this family, someone said, I will pay for your school fees and for all that, right? So that, because the way recruitment sport is structured is that when it comes to these teams, the first eyes, they go to the private schools. So this person was positioning Usia so that Akwazi will access that. But the point that your story brought to me, and also what you're saying, to say, and also thinking about all these other young people that go to Africa Tikkun, that we want them to be successful people, that we want, and when they are successful and they do all these things and they are up there, and do we really, or maybe in their journey up there, do we really look at what are some of the struggles that they, that they go through? Because some of the struggles will knock them out, but when they come to the center, they will be all smiles, right? But those are some of the dangers. What you said yesterday, it really prompted me. I thought of SIA, but also I thought of the work that we do in the development space, which is what we all do in terms of development. We want to see successes, but also what are some of the struggles that these children, because Usia, for example, when he went to grade school, maybe he just could not fit. Other children would probably, we were camping, bring in these Adidas bags and and then and that also does something to a child, you know. So it's those kinds of struggles.
Whole story, as much as we're looking at it in a professional manner, Africa Tikkun and Asia, we are all going to one day be parents. The reality is that this starts to hit from home. Our parents did this from a long time. It started from parenting. It started from at home. I just remembered it when you spoke about Maskol, when you were like, so why can't you do it? Don't all parents do that? I'm just generalizing. And that's why I'm saying, let's leave it in our minds. And it goes back to hit home to that. And that also comes back to us as parents to go back that don't compare your children. I know it's something I also like to say when the parents are at our graduation ceremonies, to say that don't compare them. Everyone has their own way to go past. So adding on top of that, as much as we're looking at it from a Tikkun side and whatnot, the reality is that for some of us, it starts actually from home. And that's where it started breaking down. And that's where we started going out and doing the things we do and what happens.
My initial aim was so that facilitators understand their iceberg before relating to beneficiaries. It's very important as a facilitator to understand your unmet needs so that when you find a child that is going against that need, you don't get to break, but you are able to learn and understand that based on the experiences that we face, it is bound that some things will touch you, but you do not necessarily have to have a negative reaction to it, because now you understand that you are feeling that way because of your thoughts and your experiences, and no one has to be discredited their feelings because of what you personally went through. Because I remember with most arguments that I used to have with people, it was necessarily I'd get into an argument with my opinion, and if it's not what we agree on, let's agree to disagree. However, you need to understand that even people that go against you and your thoughts within a team, your CDP managers and the center managers, if they go against your way of thinking or it ends in a manner that is a conflict, their iceberg must never affect your iceberg. Even if they mention things like you wouldn't understand because, or if it's a person of higher authority that has privileges more than you, that doesn't necessarily tend to understand the disadvantages and the problems that people living in townships go through each and every day. Understand that that is their iceberg. Your unmet need is not their unmet need. And when your purpose is to work on your iceberg and deliver your mission without breaking anyone's iceberg. Because before we are better people to others, we need to learn to master self and master emotions, because most of the people that hold the most capital of the world are people that did personal mastery, and they understand that your opinions do not really have to shake your iceberg in any way. And if something makes you feel uneasy or makes you feel upset, or it's an argument or it's a disagreement, I always sit down and get to think, what is the unmet need that is making me react and feel this way? And the moment you find if it's nothing wrong with you, understand it's their iceberg, and you cannot really judge a person because of where they've been, because you only see the 20% of their opinions. Same applies with beneficiaries. They face different challenges that you guys don't probably face, but they also have aspects of their own. And your role as a facilitator is to unpack the unmet need. Like when Mem said, I realized the withdrawal and. It was a matter of now having to unpack. Why are you behaving this way? What's the feeling behind this? What are you thinking? Have you went through this, or have you seen someone go through this? Then this is the unmet need. How do we feel it and put it in so that your iceberg does not shake? So yes, let's finish with the iceberg. I have a few minutes left. So now this is the mind. You have your conscious and your unconscious mind. This reveals to people about 80% also of what you are, what you do unconsciously, how you answer questions, how you behave in certain situations, because this is something you learned after 8 years and then your mind was not growing. The human mind grows between the ages of 0 to 7, and most of your learning or most of what makes you you is something that you learn between these ages. And you are not conscious enough to learn for yourself, therefore this defined this period, and this period is who you are. So this unconscious mind is what makes you, when you see a woman crying and when you grew up your dad was hitting your mom, this is what makes you react and retaliate, because it links to your iceberg and unmet needs that you're not conscious of. When you see a person, every time you see a person cheating and you do not have to say anything about it, it's because you've seen older people when you're growing up making it a norm that you think it's okay. When you see a man hitting a woman and you think, I must not get involved because it's not my issues, then you think it's okay because this was learning that whole time. And now this is very dangerous because you did not have a choice or a mind of your own to decide what's right and what's wrong. And that makes you as bad as you are, or that gives you your flaws and negatives that you currently are facing, because you need to fight this with this. And here, your mind isn't really growing that much as it was here. So that's why people keep on doing the same mistakes they promise themselves, I'm not going to do it, because this has learned and you are growing up. The number of years that mentality has been in you is more than the number of years that you're thinking things should change.
I'm sorry, I'm taking it down. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, cool. And yeah, I'll quickly rush through the mind because I think I made it clear with the iceberg. And then now we have these things called upsets and challenges. Upsets and challenges. We normally get upset or challenged because of blocked intentions, unmet needs, like I said, undelivered communication, and an unexpected loss. These are the 4 main things that make you upset. And we've only covered unmet needs, but I'm not going to go through all the others with you due to time. So yeah, and then from there, I would like us to talk about growth. How you get to rise above everything you went through. How do you now get to channel your subconscious to not have power as your conscious is? How do you now get your conscious mind to want to overpower the unconscious, because the unconscious is full of everything that happened and it now thinks it's right. Then your conscious has only a little to grow on and improve on. So what you get to do in your growth, one thing, okay, I'm going to give a simple example. I don't know what I don't know.
So, before you get into the next section, I think we'll just...
What I don't know. As a child, I grew up loving engineering, loving construction, wanting to be an engineer. And at some point I'm thinking, should one day I be given a truck, I will ride the truck to 180 and everybody will be looking at me. Because I did not know what I did not know. A small child, when there's that seesaw from the township, 3 years old, playing with mud and soil, and it's very dusty, and then he sees a car passing by, and then he's looking at the car and says, one day that le moto, you know? So it's those things where you think you don't know what you don't know, and you think you know because you have aspirations, you have dreams. When you get to work and you see that promotion and you think the person that is in that managerial position does not know what they're doing, and you get to think, you see, if I get into that position, Africa Tikkun will kneel down on me. Because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know the experiences and that person's iceberg on why you think they're not excelling in that position as you think you would have. So the first time I got inside a truck, I was in university. I was very ready that I'm going to ride this truck and they will see women power, Womanda with me. This is what people will know me. And the moment I got into the truck, Masha, you see the pavement.
Oh, God.
That was pain, / upset, / a challenge. Because I thought I knew what I did not know. So the initial step of growth is thinking you know when you don't know. And at some point, when you are not in a position that you don't have experience with, and another person is there, it's not really okay to judge. Managers, when a fellow employee is not performing according to what you think is standard and great performance, if you've never been that employee or in that position, you don't know what you don't know. Same with facilitators. When a child starts acting unruly, you don't know what you don't know if you've never engaged and unpacked an iceberg. When a fellow staff member is being that one person you always agree with, you come from different worlds. You don't know what you don't know. And you don't have to now act or feel like what you know is better, because your iceberg also has its flaws. And immediately when you realize that you don't know what you don't know, you get to now know what you don't know. What you don't know. These are stages of growth. You don't know what you don't know. You get to try it, then it gives you pain to realize that you know. Now you know what you don't know. You have a chance to work, to learn and work from it. And from there you get to understand that if you know what you don't know, you have to now make a choice. Are you going to judge Mem Neo for being a difficult manager because she doesn't understand where you come from, or because she's done this and she's done that, and you don't think you like your ways of doing things? Are you going to now decide to learn? Because this is what world's millionaires decided when they had a choice. Are you going to now decide to learn? I had a choice. When I bumped into that paving, I had to pay it, I had to pay the institution. My mom had to also pay. And now I understood that I know what I don't know. I cannot drive a truck. I am not an engineer yet. It was my first practicals. And I accept that. I don't have to beat myself hard because of it. But I have a choice. Do I want to learn or just leave it as it is? Should I learn, I'll get to master the skill and be the best engineer. Should I not learn, I would save probably my mother another bill of a child, because you don't just learn and perfect a skill. There's room for disappointments, to still flunk at what you think you've learned. And that happens. When I went to my driving test, the first time I failed my license. I had a choice, do I really go back, or I'm going to conform to me not being able to drive? The same thing. Am I really going to stop listening to Mem Neo's teaching because she's a difficult manager and stick to my comfort zone? But then really what's there to gain, because you are going back to here. The only thing you'd be good at is wishing that I want to drive that truck one day. I want to drive that car. I want to understand children the way Warren understands children. I want to speak with children the way who speaks with children. But you don't understand where are your struggles if you've never tried it. If you've never had a relationship with a child and you don't know what you don't know, and your only option is to talk about them behind them with their peers, with your staff, with your family, then there's no way you'd get where you want to be within the organization, because you're working with children. You have to love children. Force yourself to understand these beings, because ultimately they have their own aspect, and you can't just say, I want to learn them, whereas you don't give yourself time to understand their unmet needs. What is lacking within that child? What would make you realize when Maroma comes in a center and she's withdrawn that actually something is not met there? Because you learned the skill. Then you find there's an employee that works with you that was able to notice the moment I walked in that the smile is not the way it normally is. The smile now is there, but this corner does not have a dimple. When she smiles, she has a dimple. You wouldn't notice that because you did not make the choice to learn. And you always criticize those who learned. Hayi, uWarren uzenza ngathi uyazi ngoba ukhuluma isilungu namatwana basewuthanda. It's not that. When you get back, you got to have a choice to learn all these people. You don't just come with the experience of knowing this is good, this is good. You give yourself time and you learn children. And once you learn them, then you are able to spot and perfect your craft to a point where even when they tell you, those that don't know what they don't know, that Warren, you are wasting time with children, you understand your iceberg. I did not do accounting because I gave myself a choice to learn, because I knew what I didn't know, and at first I thought I knew what I didn't know. You acquire the skill and you master and you go for the stars. Once you've mastered the skill, you're unstoppable. It's you.
Yes.
secret. Telling yourself. I mean, sometimes it doesn't sound real. You know the book, The Secret?
The
The
Secret book.
He said you gave it to me.
No.
I read about
Where's my
it
book?
in excess, but never.
Where's my book?
I'll send you, I have it, you can come offline. This book, Hazel, do you mind sharing?
I have the book, yes.
Did you
So
read
it speaks about the law of attraction.
Yes.
And Tepo took my book.
Was
it
a
chapter?
movie?
Really
There was a movie for it.
Yeah, I've got a movie.
Warren, have you read it?
You have
This has
Yes,
been,
I've got a movie.
this has been something that I used on campus. I was running for the Senate at large on campus in the Student Governing Association. Nobody knew me. There were two parties that were known, the kids from the Oprah School in South Africa and the Mandela family. And I said, I need to be a president or need to be something here. And I watched this, it was discussed in a political science class. And it's a law of attraction that whatever you put in the universe, it comes back to you. But knowing that there's something inside between that actually promotes that with so much imaging with the vision board and so on and a positive attitude and making sure that you imprint it yourself. So I went to a cafeteria, right? And with a nice board, and I went, stood on top of a table in a cafeteria and I said, everybody here, Warren stands for this. Warren's from South Africa and you vote for me, you will get this. 4 things. I was the most famous young person ever. Because in my mind, I slept yesterday of being known and I became known because I put it out to the universe fearlessly.
Yes.
So this is like the most, this is the secret I'm going to tell you about, the secret of success that I wish I knew from a very young age. And I believe I am unstoppable from now. There's no stopping me.
Yes.
Because I know the secret. The secret is the law of attraction. You live in a universe full of magnetic fields. Now this is the science part of how people accomplish what they accomplish. And you live in a universe that deals with signals, that deals with satellites. And you are within that universe. That's why in primary or in high school when they told you, they said the human body has magnetic fields and electric fields. That is bounded. That's why when you wear a jersey and sometimes when you take it off, you hear those small sparks and you are able to charge a ruler using your clothes. You are able to charge a phone battery with your clothes or your skin or whatever, or your hair. If you charge a ruler and then you take it to, then you see the small hairs rising up. That is the secret that we've been hidden from. You are an object, a particle within the universe, and you are bounded to this universe with everything that is in you. The moment you fill your mind with you saying, I want that car, the universe is linked to you and it will attract that car to you because you are part of it. But the moment you fill your mind with negative thoughts that, but how can I get that car? I live in Deep Spot. How can you are ordering that from the universe? So you living, you are in a restaurant called the universe, filled with anything that you want on the menu. All you have to do is order. Because science tells you that you are part of the universe and what you ask is what you get. The Bible tells you that the only thing you need to do is just ask everything and then it shall all be given to you. However you define it, the law of attraction gives you the secret to success. I remember when I learned about this, I really didn't believe that I can just say things and they come to me. And the person thinks, I'm like, what kind of magic is that? You don't just tell your mind to want this and want this and want this and it shall be given to you. And then you realize when you adapt the secret and you try, I gave it a try. And then the time I gave it a try, I was like, by the end of 2020, I need to get myself a car. How was I going to do that? I really did not know. I was just recently dropped out of university and things were not going well. I was not talking to my friends. Nothing made sense. And the moment I'm like, let me try this law of attraction, I told myself, I need a car, I need a car. I need a car, I need a car. That's where you get to realize that I need a car, I need a car, I need a car. This starts working. The moment you repeat things in your brain, you repeat, you try convincing, and you try growing. Your conscious starts practicing to learn.
Yes.
Because now this has played its role in gaining 80% of who you are. But how do you now make this as equally powerful as this repetition? In your mind, how you channel your mind, what you want, And immediately when you do that, you become realistic, because this is a very realistic part of the brain. You say you want a car, where do you start? That's the universe asking. You want a car, where do you start? I don't know, I can't go to people, they don't know. But where do you start? We are going to start. Go to the internet. You find jobs. I applied Harambee, got to Harambee. What type of a job? I don't want an entry-level job. For real, yes. What can you give to the table? I knew I wanted a car. My conscious mind is now even influencing me. The secret juices that keeps you moving. Yes. When I slept, I kept on, yes, and it gives you ideas because it's what you're ordering from the universe. And you can, I remember for like a week, I couldn't sleep for more than 8 hours without now thinking what I'm going to do the next day. I finished the 5-week bridge with Harambee, and the highest employer was PwC, the second largest accounting firm in the multinational in America, Africa, and Europe. And I'm thinking, how do I get myself into PwC with no formal tertiary certificate? And I did not do accounting. I didn't even do it in high school. I ordered. The universe will give it to you however it wants, and it will make sure you survive in it. I went to PwC, got the salary that I'm earning, I got very happy, went to check quotations of my car. I was fitting very well, and it was the same car I kept seeing. And it was blue. Immediately when I saw it online, it was blue. The same way I dreamt about it. When you keep telling yourself what you want, you even dream it. When you're sleeping, you feel like you are alive.
That's so true.
You dream it.
That's so true.
When you're sleeping, you feel like you are still alive doing what you have to do. And then now that's how you get to attract everything. It's not necessarily that you're attracted via these signals, but you thinking there are these signals, it motivates your conscious mind to relearn new habits and tell the universe what you want. And the universe will force you. You will not sleep. I never slept. Went for PwC assessments, I passed them. Interviews, I passed them. And everything went well. And from that, when I was supposed to hire for being the junior auditor, that guy called me like, shouldn't be here. I'm not going to lie, I ordered. I just tried it. I tried the secret. Telling yourself. I know sometimes it doesn't sound realistic. It also didn't sound realistic. I know it probably doesn't sound realistic to someone. But you see how this theory, this magic comes into practice when you realize that you telling yourself one thing, your conscious mind is learning, it's relearning and the re-killing other things. And there is one thing that I'm going to close up this session with is that your dreams do not come true because you tell them to small-minded people.
Yes.
The reason why your dreams do not work is because when you get to Africa, and Memnel gives you an assignment and say, my staff, work on this. Please work on this. And then there's that one that says, Alile. Goes like that. You don't know what nails so from you. Like I said, when you think no one is
think they are doing nails
And ask yourself why no would give you a managerial job at your level. When you think no one is looking, someone is looking. Yes. Imagine when I was coming early and people were complaining that PwC always wants us during the middle of the day, it's hot, we are tired and everything. If I said, Ish, but also I don't want to wake up. Who would have seen I was early? Who would have seen I'm always punctual, I'm always in sessions, I always do my work, and I'm always on time? Who would have seen that if I conformed to what people think about certain things? Your dreams do not work because you share them to the wrong people. And the thing with ideas and working hard and you accomplishing your dreams is that if you can think of an idea or if you can think of you driving a car, that is the universe telling you, I am ready for you.
Sure.
I am ready for you. No, that's for real. If you can think about it, it could have went to anyone. We don't have the same thoughts. But why did that thought locate you? Why did it choose Hazel? Why did accounting choose me when I chose engineering? Why?